Good morning, members. We have already formed a quorum. It is also time to start, so I call the meeting to order. I'm chairing the meeting merely for the purpose of electing a chairman. Nominations, please. Mr. Andrew Leung, Mr. Low Wai Kwok, seconded by Mr. Wong Ting Kwong. Mr. Low, would you accept? Yes, indeed. Any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? No? Then I declare that Dr. Low Wai Kwok has been elected as the chair of the subcommittee uncontested. Congratulations. Thank you for your support. Let's discuss whether you want to elect a deputy chair. No? No need. Then in this case, let's invite the administration's team to join us.
我知道，冇錯，佢講緊先。係啊，順便我哋都唔使再特別再傾，需唔需要再選改一啲？咧係出席呢個。
In attendance today, we have the following public officers. Ms. Susie Ho, Permanent Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development. Mr. Joe Wong, Deputy Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development. Mr. Ivan Zhang, PAS. As well as Ms. Joey Lam, Deputy Government Chief Information Officer. And two senior government counsels from the Department of Justice. They are Ms. Angie Lee and Mr. Vincent Koo. Thank you and welcome. Yesterday, Mr. Gregory So, the Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development, wrote to the chair of the House Committee, namely Mr. Andrew Leung. So I would like to give the floor to the government to explain the letter, and then we can get the details as to the resolution to be made relating to the establishment of the Innovation and Technology Bureau. P.S. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the 24th of February 2015, at a meeting of the EXCO, in order to set up the new bureau, in order to transfer the statutory functions, a resolution has been invited to be made. We need to amend the estimates of the expenditure for 2014-15, and then the original resolution is supposed to commence on the 14th day after the day on which the FC approved the proposal, or the 14th day after the day on which the original resolution is made and passed, whichever is the later. The original resolution was made and passed on the 29th of October 2015, but then the 2014-15 funding proposal could not be approved in time and could not be incorporated into the draft estimates for 2015-16, 25th February 2015. And therefore, we would like to make changes to the estimates of expenditure for 2015-16 to provide for the establishment of the ITB. In relation to Section 54A of the Interpretation and General Causes Ordinance, we would like to make a resolution so as to amend the commencement clause of the original resolution. But then we have read your legal advisors concerned about the legal status of the original resolution. We do not agree with the legal view in that letter, but then we don't want to get involved in time being unnecessarily spent on the argument over the technical legal issue. So we are not going to pursue the original resolution. We would like to propose a new resolution so as to facilitate the transfer of the statutory functions. In other words, the resolution passed on the 29th of October will be withdrawn. It will be replaced by a new resolution. And in other words, we are going to withdraw the original resolution. We do think that the original resolution is still valid and may be amended. But then we would like to be pragmatic, and we want to save time. We don't think that this will be regarded as a precedent. Yesterday, we wrote to the legal advisor of the LegCo. We have already set out clearly the legal point. I don't intend to go over the details here. So we would like to say the following. This is not to be regarded as a precedent when we encounter similar cases in the future, because we do disagree with the legal advisor. But then to save time, we would like to be pragmatic. Thank you. Well, having heard the explanation from the administration, I think the message is clear. In other words, the subcommittee will note or has noted that the government is not going to revise the original resolution. That would not be the approach. Later on, they are going to propose the withdrawal of the original resolution, and there will be a new resolution. In other words, for today's meeting, we don't need to consider the original resolution, as they have said it will be withdrawn. Some members would like to speak. Well, I put it this way, 4 minutes each. Raymond Chen, and then Kenneth Chen, and then Sid Ho. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I would like to thank the hard work and clear logic of the legal advisor of the LegCo, and has come to such a judgment. For the resolution for the setting up of the ITB, in fact, that resolution has become invalid. And so if they would like to do it again, they have to come back again. The government doesn't agree. Anything would have a validity period. We're not supposed to approve anything that would never expire. Even for a can of luncheon meat, it has an expiry date. If we are to agree with the administration, I want to know whether we are going to transfer back the functions to the Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development. Now, the government is not going to admit verbally that it is wrong. The government is simply saying that it is not going to argue with us. The resolution will be withdrawn, and it won't be regarded as a precedent. But then it is not up to you to say whether it is a precedent or not. It is indeed a precedent. Now, for us to repeal the resolution, which in the view of the government is still valid, what are we supposed to do? Should we get another resolution to repeal the original resolution? P.S. I can only give you an idea about the timetable. For legal advice, it's up to your legal advisor. We want to do it ASAP. We hope that within April, there will be a resolution to withdraw or to repeal the original resolution, and there will be a new resolution as well. Well, in fact, the content will be very simple. It is very similar to the original resolution, so we can do it in April. So for repealing the original resolution, it has to be done via the LegCo. Yes. Well, I think it is already stated in the letter, and I think you have already got a copy. That is, they are going to repeal the original resolution by way of another resolution, and then there will be a fresh resolution for the transfer of the functions. Kenneth Chen. 8:30, we come here so early to attend a meeting just to listen to the government. The PS told us that they were taking it away because the legal advisor has a clear message. Now, the government all along held this position. That is, the government would regard the original resolution as valid, and the government would only change the commencement date. You are trying to deprive us of a very important function, that is to monitor the government. A lot of public money is involved. A lot of personnel matters are involved. Now, the government, that is, Leung, couldn't get his way, and then he would rather try to get an advisor for him instead. I think we must take this opportunity to have a clear discussion and debate. But then this is what the government would like to do. That is, the government would like to speed. The government would like to jump the red light. It is very good for our legal advisor to have the exchange of correspondence. Yesterday, 5 o'clock, you gave a fax to our House Committee chair to say that you are not going to proceed further. Yesterday in the letter, it wasn't quite clear. You said you would not proceed further. Now, in fact, you have made it clear you're going to repeal it. Now, what is important is to do things properly. You shouldn't just try to rush through it thinking that you have secured enough votes. In fact, it involves a lot of queries. It involves a lot of public opinion. You are withdrawing it. You are repealing it. Of course, I welcome it. It's better for you to go back and spend enough time to consider it. Today, we haven't got the Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development here. Gregory So is not here. We don't want to take it out on the permanent secretary, who is a civil servant. I think the government has got it wrong in terms of the logic. Thank you. I think we should call off the meeting ASAP. Unfortunately, you are only chairing the meeting, the meeting once only. Sid Ho, I'm thankful towards the legal advisor for being so clear-minded, and as a result, we're assisted in monitoring the government. This is only a technical issue. Well, the government may be able to get you through with enough votes. Anything may happen in today's world. We still welcome the government's repealing of the resolution. Now, a point for the legal advisor. For the legal points in the correspondence, I just wondered if the legal advisor can explain the matter to us, because the media is watching, and it is important for us to give this kind of knowledge and information to the public. On the 23rd of March, we were given a letter by the government. They talked about the presumption of permanence. Regarding such a concept, I just wondered if the legal advisor can explain this matter. Thank you. During our study, we found that there is this principle, that is, for an order or for a piece of legislation, its validity may be dependent on a particular condition before its validity can continue. But when the condition is no longer there, it should lose her validity. Regarding the 29th October 2014 resolution, that's about the transfer of functions, so as to set up the ITB. We found that the drafting as well as the structure of the resolution has been such that only paragraph 2 is important, and that's about the transfer of functions. But then the FC's approval of the relevant funding approval can no longer take place, and therefore the resolution itself may lose validity, may have lost her validity. The government is right to talk about the idea of the presumption of permanence. When we studied the matter, again, we have found our logic on the same principle. So indeed, maybe both both arguments may be sound. Our argument may not be acceptable to the court, but then to be cautious, we are inviting the government to come up with a fresh resolution.
Does it mean that now you and the government both have your own perspective, that is about the presumption of permanence, because the 14-15 budget has already been announced. So the LegCo would have the right to seek judicial review, or if the LegCo insists on using these concepts, that is, in case we are so lucky that we can veto it, and then we can do that. Well, on the contrary, they cannot seek JR against us, right? So are these our constitutional functions? Thank you. Well, with regard to the Court of Final Appeals judgment, well, the court would not intervene so much in our whole procedure. However, there is the possibility of JR, because according to its original paragraph 2, it says that certain functions will be transferred to the future Secretary for Innovation and Technology. And if he does that according to these functions, and if future people may challenge that the transfer of functions are not proper because the original resolution has already become invalid. So for the new secretary, if he exercises his functions improperly, then you can just go to the judiciary, and then we will not be queried, right? Yes. Chairman, I want to thank the legal advisor for agreeing to our legal advisor's view. I hope our legal advisor can also explain our views to you. As I said just now, I don't think our legal points are problematic. And for what we are doing now, we just want to complete the project ASAP. So we are trying to be pragmatic, and this will not form a precedent. Our legal advisor, please. Miss Lee? Miss Anjali? I would like to supplement. With regard to the government's legal point of view, first of all, we agree with the LegCo's legal advisor. That is about the presumption of permanence. She mentioned the case of legislation, and those are the legal points from there. That is, when a legislature, unless it repeal a piece of legislation officially, otherwise the piece of legislation is presumed to be permanently valid. Now, we proposed this piece of legislation last year. It just hasn't commenced, and there's no sunset clause. So the original resolution hasn't stated that after a certain time, the piece of legislation will become invalid. So according to the presumption of permanence, the original resolution will still be valid. And also for the LegCo's legal advisor, it mentioned an act in the UK in 1954. We've looked into that, and we have read the recent paragraphs. We don't think it can be mentioned in one breath with the original resolution that we are talking about now, because now we are talking about the transfer of functions, and it has not commenced yet. And with regard to the 2014-15 approved budget, is included in the commencement clause. As for the drafting of the commencement clause, or its position in the original resolution, is the same as other commencement clause. So it is just a technical clause, and the things stipulated or stated in it can be amended. As the permanent secretary said just now, we think, well, we want to do this with a pragmatic manner. So we are amending the resolution. This is appropriate and lawful, and we think it is also acceptable to formulate a new resolution. So these are the legal points, and they have been clarified. Members, So we do not have to scrutinize the original resolution because now it's withdrawn. Before we adjourn the meeting, I would like to ask members. We will have to continue with the work. So do we need to form another subcommittee, or do you think this subcommittee can continue to function? Because we think that in a short time they will be putting forward a new resolution about the transfer of statutory functions. So do you think this subcommittee will continue to look at that? If that is the case, then I will seek the FC chairman's approval. Or you may say that we can disband this subcommittee. Dr. Ancha, Chairman, within this legislative year, the government may submit another proposal concerning the Information and Technology Bureau. So I think this committee should be allowed to continue to operate, because we are dealing with the same issue, that is the establishment of the ITB. Other than the ITB panel, issues can also be discussed at this subcommittee. As for the new term, if there is a need, maybe another subcommittee should be formed. Dr. Giancarlo, thank you for asking us, Chairman. I think the Chairman's responsibility is to write a report on today's meeting, and then the report will be submitted to the FC. But I don't think this subcommittee should be frozen like this, and then later on it will come to life again. Because this subcommittee's existence hinges on the government's documents, and today we have completed our work. If the government submits other papers, then the FC can consider setting up another subcommittee, because other members may want to join that new subcommittee. So I don't think this subcommittee should continue. Mr. Wong Kwok Heng. Chairman, the Permanent Secretary and the legal advisor made it very clear. That is, next month they will submit another resolution. So I think we have two choices here. First is to maintain the status quo. Second, we can wrap up the work of this subcommittee, and when the government submits new papers, another subcommittee will be formed. Okay, Mr. Christopher Chung. I don't think this subcommittee should end here, because we should wait for the new resolution. Now, this resolution is withdrawn, and it's done at this subcommittee. So we shouldn't form a new subcommittee to look at the new resolution. And after approving that resolution, the subcommittee can end. This because the old, for the old resolution and the new resolution, the dates are different. If a new subcommittee is to be formed to look at the new resolution, then before the repeal of the old resolution, this subcommittee should still exist. Yesterday, I talked to the clerk and the legal advisor on the phone about this. I think the calling of today's meeting is meaningless and ironic. Now, we all know that there are a lot of disputes between the LegCo and the government concerning the formation of the ITB, and you insist that this meeting be convened. Now, originally, there was a resolution, so that's why we are having this meeting. However, from the LegCo's perspective, the resolution is no longer lawful. So I don't think today's meeting should be convened. Maybe Mr. Grexo just want to use this to hide his embarrassment. And this is not something that we should encourage, and we may even need to condemn it. Now, if you have a new resolution, then the government shouldn't waste our time like this. Mr. So is not here today. He doesn't admit his mistake. So for today's meeting, it shows exactly how poor the relationship is between the executive and the legislature. For the building of the third runway, the government's bypassing us. And now the government's legal advisor and the LegCo's legal advisor have very different views. So I don't see the meaning of this morning's meeting. You are elected as the chairman of this subcommittee. But to a certain extent, I don't think this is a good-looking role. I think Mr. Grexo does not respect the LegCo, and he's wasting legislators' time. I really feel regretful about that. It's not that today's meeting is meaningless. Now, the government is proposing an amendment to the original resolution. So that's why we have to set up a subcommittee. And the government is now withdrawing the original resolution. It has to explain to us. But it's the government's fault in the first place. Well, you have made your point very clear. I want to point out that the government has been wrong in terms of law, so they should apologize. Ms. Scott? I would like to ask our legal advisor, for our subcommittee, can we continue to operate? And when the government submits a new resolution, can we continue to scrutinize that? Is that feasible? Well, yes, let's listen to the legal advisor. Thank you. This is about procedure. Maybe I can ask the clerk to explain to you. Members, according to our rules of procedures and manual, there's no rules stipulating that whether this subcommittee can continue. You are members of the subcommittee, you can make a decision. If you can reach a consensus, or you can even vote, then after the decision is made, we will seek the FC's endorsement or the HC's endorsement. So if the SC continue to operate, and we will ask for the HC's approval. If not, we will submit a report to the HC, and the operation of this SC will end officially. So if the baby dies, you have to declare that he's dead. And Mr. Bachan says that the government is rude. I think so too. Because we are forming this subcommittee for them. So the government is trying to force this on us. Of course, it will not survive because the baby is not mature enough. So of course it will die young. Well, even though the government thinks that its legal points are right, it doesn't have to come to us now. We can go to the court. If you think our legal advisor is wrong, then maybe you can stop and think and then negotiate further. Why do you want to force this upon us? Well, Mr. Albert Chen is right in criticizing Mr. Grexo. Well, we as the monitor of the government thinks this is wrong, and so the government submits this to us. If you do this again, that you are telling us in the face that we have no knowledge of the basic law. I don't know what other members' views are. If you support the government, of course you will say that we are all wrong. Last night I was watching a football match. I have never seen players of Real Madrid helping players of Barcelona. So I want to save members' time. I think we should end this meeting as soon as possible because this is a baby born dead. So now this is or stillborn baby. So I think we are just having a funeral here. Next, Mr. Ray Chen, and then Ms. Ho and Ann Chiang.
多謝主席。
So Raymond Chen, my proposal is that at today's meeting, we would just say that the historic mission of the subcommittee has been completed and it should be disbanded. When the government does come back with a fresh resolution, then it's up to House Committee to decide whether there's a need to set up a subcommittee. Maybe there will be members wishing to start a subcommittee. I don't think it is constructive to keep the subcommittee. I think it is merely a procedural matter. I hope you will listen to me. Ms. Ho. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, for initiatives for policies which have an element of continuity, then the subcommittee will continue. But then for legislative proposals, I think there is only one subcommittee that can deal with different legal notices. It's the subcommittee on the UN resolutions. But then for that subcommittee, it hasn't got the right to vote on the legal notices because such matters do not require the approval of the LegCo. And then under a principal ordinance, if we have got different pieces of subsidiary legislation introduced on different dates, we also have got different subcommittees. Now the government is withdrawing the resolution, repealing the resolution. I think we should just conclude our work. In any event, for a subcommittee to be set up under the House to study subsidiary legislation, it is very simple as far as procedures are concerned. And Jen, if we receive a fresh resolution, I want to know whether we have to go through the same process, or will it go to the Council directly, or will it have to go through the panels or the FCs? Well, the answer is simple. We have the same procedures as those involved in setting this one up. That is, the House will ask members if they would like to set up a subcom to look at the proposed resolution. Well, the subcommittee is called the Subcommittee on Proposed Resolution Relating to the Establishment of the Innovation Technology Bureau. Now, the resolution is made under Section 54A of Cap 1. For the first resolution, I want to know whether it is going to be made under Section 54A of Cap 1. If the answer is in the positive, in other words, the work of the subcommittee will just be the same. The content will just be the same. Do I understand it correctly, Chair, or can the clerk confirm? Of course, we all understand that the government is using another way to introduce another resolution to effect the transfer of functions. But I believe that the wording of the resolution, the content of the resolution, I mean the new one, will be more or less the same. That's how I understand it personally. Mr. Chairman, the subcommittee was first set up for the establishment of the ITB or for another sort of approach to be adopted by the government to cover the work. We expect it to be done within this term. So the government will have a new decision, and then the government will come back with a fresh resolution. So that's how I perceive it. Now, the subcommittee was set up this morning, and now there are calls to conclude the work and disband it. It doesn't matter, but it means that we have to go through the procedures again. We set up the subcommittee, elect a chair, and then discuss the matter again. But then this is to be within the same term. How come that we need to do it once again? As long as it is within the same session, I just wonder if we can just keep the subcommittee. I won't insist. If the opposition insists on disbanding it, it's fine with me. It's up to you. I think both arguments are sound. Just like what has happened today, there is the government's legal advisor and our own legal advisor have their own legal viewpoints. No one can tell which one is the correct one. Just to avoid further disputes, the government has changed the approach. Mr. Allen Leong. Mr. Chairman, since the government has accepted that the original resolution cannot be amended, to make it applicable to the 2015-2016 estimates. In other words, the original resolution has become invalid, and you can't use an amendment to prolong its validity. Therefore, if this is to be the approach adopted, and in fact at our House Committee meeting, the decision was made on the basis of the government's original proposal inviting membership. And in fact, deadline for joining the subcommittee was closed last Saturday. First of all, we didn't know about the content of the fresh resolution. Of course, Chair, you have your own assessment, but it may not be the same as the government's fresh resolution. So first of all, let's take a look at the fresh resolution from the government. And the House will have another discussion, and members will be asked again as to whether they're interested to join. Unless you say that once the Saturday deadline has passed, it is rigid, and then no more applications will be accepted for membership. But then I just don't think it is acceptable. There will be a new resolution. You can't say that the deadline has been passed and there's no more addition to the membership. So to me, the more appropriate way to go about it is that today we have listened to the statement of the government. Now, in fact, the original resolution will no longer have its validity prolonged by way of an amendment. In other words, the basis for setting up the subcommittee is no longer there. So, Chair, I would say that you can just state this fact in a report for the House and then we await the fresh resolution from the government, and then we trigger the mechanism again. That is, it goes to the House and we just follow the usual procedures. I think that's much better. Yes, your view is clear. Mr. Albert Chen, Mr. Chairman, you are the chair. Your neutrality and your political wisdom as seen are really amazing. You have said that the legal advisor on both sides the legal advisors on both sides are right. Now, legal matters are legal matters. For procedural matters, that's very clear. If the government is not in the wrong, the government would not have decided to repeal the original resolution and come back with a fresh resolution. So in this matter, the government has tried to abuse the procedures. The government has tried to disobey the rules. So when there is a resolution, we have a meeting. If there isn't, then we don't need a meeting. So as I have said in the outset, today's meeting is a waste of time. Now, based on the earlier mistake of the government, our time has been wasted. I think the subcommittee should be disbanded formally. And the next time a resolution is introduced, we have to check whether the resolution is in the right form, because we don't know what tactic will be deployed by Greg So. You never can tell. So it's better for us to follow all the proper procedures. We should not continue with a flawed resolution. This is the greatest absurdity. It will become a laughing stock. I've listened to members' views. Sorry, there's still one on the list. Mr. Christopher Chung. May I clarify one point? It is said that there will be a resolution to repeal the original resolution. There's a letter for the House come. Will this be done within the subcommittee or within the House come? Clerk. I think it will be referred to the House committee. The House come will pass a resolution, and then this subcommittee should come to an end. I think that's how the procedures should work. I have to put this to you. No. The subcommittee is about the resolution. Just now, some members favored the continuation of the subcommittee. And we can suggest to the House chair that we be allowed to continue to carry on with the scrutiny of the fresh resolution. But then there were also members who said that the subcommittee was formed to scrutinize the proposed resolution, but then the resolution has now been withdrawn. And maybe when the fresh resolution comes, no one would like to set up a subcommittee. It appears that more members are holding the latter view. So in this case, I'm going to submit a report to the House chairman. And for today's meeting, I think that's the end of the work of the subcommittee. We're finished with our historic mission. So the subcommittee can be disbanded, and we will set up another subcommittee when there is a fresh resolution. I'm sure members will be interested to join the new subcommittee. Ms. Chen. Well, if the House is to approve it, then of course the subcom will be disbanded. What if the House doesn't agree? So will it be returned back to us? If we disband ourselves today, and yet come next Friday, the House gets a fresh resolution, we need to set up another subcommittee. Just for the sake of this resolution, which will be withdrawn? No. They have withdrawn it. So when there is a fresh resolution, then we set up another subcommittee. Mr. Wong Ting Kwong. Mr. Chairman, thank you. For today's subcommittee, whether the resolution is repealed or not, whether it is withdrawn or not, I don't think there is much meaning to our decision today, because ultimately it will be decided by the House Well, in this case, for the sake of efficiency, I think we should return the matter to the House as to whether the resolution should be withdrawn. Even if we propose to the House to withdraw it, to repeal it, no. We have to make a recommendation to the House come.
一個取態，我哋
But we should have our own position. That is whether we want to continue to operate or whether a new SC will be set up. It doesn't matter because, Chairman, I'm not trying to argue with you. I'm just thinking about working efficiency. So I think we shouldn't make a decision today and we should ask the House Committee to decide for us. If it thinks that we should continue to exist, then we will do that. Otherwise, we will disband. Mr. Wong Ting Kwong, in my report, I will say this. That is about what we have discussed at this meeting. Whether we should continue to operate or whether a new SC should be set up. I've heard stronger views on this. That is, if a new resolution is submitted to us, then a new SC should be set up. This will be written in the report, but the final decision will lie with the House Committee. Is that clear? Okay, then we can end the meeting. Thank you.